Hey guys, Carlos Colon here with Georgia Perimeter Homes, and today we're going to be talking about what happens next. We're in a crazy market right now, and it's only getting crazier. What can we expect to happen moving forward, and how's that going to affect moving into 2023, 2024, 2025? And what can we expect to see in the state of Georgia? So tune in. Thank you for jumping in. If you're not a weekly subscriber, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Every time we release a video, real estate related obviously, it'll come to you first. That way you know to watch it and tune in. This video is going to be specific to where we are right now. I feel it's necessary to talk about it. And I've heard a lot of rumors going around about people thinking, oh, market's going to crash, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. So for those of you that might be watching in the future, let's say that you're looking at this video in 2024, let me update you on where we are right now. We're on the back end of coronavirus. We are now in a super strong seller's market, stronger than we've ever seen. Buyers are right now bidding well over asking price and paying huge appraisal gaps, over appraisal, whatever it comes in order to win bids. We've also got investor companies, huge, not just small investors, but big investor companies that are buying cash all around Atlanta and farther out too, within like 2 hours of Atlanta. And they're buying these things cash to rent out, and they're holding them. Why and what's happening with that? So, there are a lot of buyers in today's market that are frustrated, and they're losing, and they're submitting 10, 20 offers on properties, and they're just kind of basically settling on homes when you get to below certain price points. And that's where we are. And so the big question is lurking is what happens next? Where does the market go from here? And so we're going to break down two different points of views. One of them is going to be, hey, buyer's market's bound to happen next, and what does that look like? And others believe, hey, this is going to crash like it did in 2007, 2008. And there's a third party that believes it's just going to keep moving on up. And it's going to get even crazier moving forward, and it's not ending anytime soon. So let's jump into the crash part of it first. Let's talk about a crash. What are we talking about when people say, "Oh, the market's going to crash"? I think this is where people get very mistaken on what a crash is. In the stock market world, a crash is when all the prices and the stock prices just dump. In fact, as we're filming this video right now, the stocks are doing just that. So what a lot of people don't realize is what the economy and economy related to the stock market does in relation to real estate values are usually not related, not directly anyway. And so prices are not being affected in any way, shape, or form by this, at least not in the state of Georgia. So let's start with that. So secondly, there's a misconception about what 2008 and 2007 and 6, what that was. The only reason why that affected real estate values and the real estate industry is because it was directly related to the mortgage industry. Had it not been for that one piece, it would not have affected real estate. And so, but what 2006, 7, 8 did was it corrected bad practices and malpractices in the mortgage industry. And it had to have new regulations in order to be stricter to make sure that people could actually afford the homes that they were actually buying. And so that's the only reason why that happened the way it happened. Now, let's get to the real facts of it. You could look back at the last 5 or 6 recessions for the United States. There's only been 2 that where real estate prices actually decreased. Okay, one of them was 2006, 7, and 8, obviously. The other one was a decrease of 0.01% there wasn't really a decrease. Historically, on all the other recessions for the United States, home values traditionally increased by the average, right around 3% year over year, even in recessive markets. And so you have to understand is real estate values don't traditionally go down. So anybody that's going, oh, it's going to crash like that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And so what you're doing is it's the equivalent of going and gambling and going to the roulette and going, hey, I'm going to put all my money on double zeros for this one roll. Why would you do that? That is such a horrible bet. What's more likely to happen is appreciation will continue to go up. That's not going to change. But the level of appreciation will not stay the same. That's a given. So that covers this crash. I personally do not believe there's a crash. Now, I'll give you a caveat here. Because there are certain points I need to make about this. The only way that we could have crashes are major changes in our government or major changes in foreign policy or major war, right? And so what you need to understand and how that relates to each other is if the United States directly went into war with another large country like Russia or anybody else or China, would that have an effect, some kind of effect on real estate? Yeah, absolutely. That's very different, especially a direct war. So, like currently as we're filming, Russia is fighting Ukraine, and how has that affected real estate? Well, it actually caused interest rates to go up when that happened. So, if you know anything about how interest rates in the mortgage industry works, what's going to happen is when that war stops, because of foreign things going on, right? Foreign policy, foreign wars, interest rates will actually dip for a couple days before they stabilize again. And that would be the right time to lock in if you're one of the lucky ones that's currently in a mortgage process during that time when that happens. So, is that a direct relation to real estate prices? No. So, when we talk about policy within the United States, what could possibly cause a real crash? Okay, well, there have been rumors for several years about, well, why don't we just double capital gains tax? Okay, well, if I'm an investor in any state and I have 10,000 homes or more that I own, and I know you're about to double my capital gains tax on my income earned, or rather my profit earned on the sale of those homes, guess what? I'm probably going to go ahead and dump or sell or list and sell whatever homes I'm planning on selling in the next 4 years. I'm going to sell them this year. Well, why would that affect real estate? Well, because then it floods the market with so much inventory. Because it's not just me doing it. It's going to be all the other investors. They're not idiots, right? They made money by understanding capital gains tax. And if we flood the market with so much inventory to where something like that happens, now all these regular sellers are now fighting investors that are hitting the market with these homes too. And so now we swing directly into a buyer's market. Does that mean that values drop? No. Even then, that doesn't necessarily create a crash. That just slows down now appreciation. It will probably stabilize appreciation. So that's where we are on the crash side of it. Chances of that happening are so low. Like I'd be hard pressed to call it 1%. All right, so let's move to the other side of it. So when we talk about it's going to swing to a buyer's market, which is what's interesting, it has to happen at some point in time. What affects that? Okay, so let's talk about interest rates first. Interest rates recently, so within the last 2 weeks of us filming this video right now, have jumped from your average buyer getting a 3.5% or so, not average, I'm sorry, your good buyers getting a 3.5 or so percent up to 4.55%. That's a big jump, okay? And what's been causing that? The Federal Reserve has forced interest rates up, and they didn't just do it one time. They did it by 1/4 of a point about, Kate, was it a month ago? Month and a half ago? And now it's jumped up again by another 1/2 a point as of, I think it was last week. And so we need to understand forced interest rate increases. Okay, how does that affect real estate? Well, guess what? Your buyers that are in a point where it's I can barely afford 250,000 are now going to back off from the market, because not only is it more expensive for me to now buy, I can't even really buy anything that I really need. And so that's going to make me, under a certain price point as a first-time home buyer, go, whoa, wait a second, maybe we'll just rent or move in with family until all this settles down and we figure out what we can afford. Okay, so that is one extremely important point. And so keep an eye on interest rates. Where are they going to be headed, and how will that affect each price point within the real estate market for the state of Georgia specifically here? So here's what I've heard. What I've heard and what I understand currently is interest rates are likely to continue to rise through the end of 2022, leading into 2023, and will continue to rise in 2023. What I've heard is that we can expect interest rates to rise high enough to possibly go back to as high as 10% and possibly higher. It's a rumor. But just understand where we are today right now, buyers are now getting 5.5% interest rates. Your average buyers are getting 5 to 5.5% interest rates. That is vastly different from what it was not even 3 months ago. And so that is a massive jump. So this kind of regulation is affecting first-time home buyers, really, because let's be honest, if you're buying $1 million home, you're probably not going to be affected a whole lot by this. You still have options. So understand that, and understand that by waiting to purchase, even if in your perfect world the market were to turn and prices were to lower a little bit, your interest rate increase may completely screw you over in the future. So you need to understand how those affect each other. Okay, so let's talk about prices. So the prices have been increasing by people paying over the appraisal. So what's likely to happen next is interest rates continue to go up. People will stop paying over asking price at some point. Now, at some point is what I call a threshold. What I mean by that is there's a certain price point, and every city is a little bit different in the state of Georgia, just so you understand. So while the average price point in Atlanta might be $500,000, that is not the same case for Macon. And so you need to understand that those are completely different buyers when we're talking about the same price in different cities. So your average sales price and below will slow down and go, listen, I'm not paying over appraisal. Now, you need to understand what that really means. That means that this jump in value will stop under a certain price point. Okay? What you also need to understand is above a certain price point, it doesn't really jump that way. So in today's market, if you were buying a $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 home or above, you don't have buyers jumping all over each other for that home. They are moving much faster than they normally would. In a normal market, that would have taken 3, 6, 9 months to sell. In this market, previously, I think in the last 6 months, that was taking like 30 days to sell even. But now those are stretching 2, 3 months again. And so you can understand that in certain levels, within certain levels of buyers, you're going to see changes. And you've got to understand that those changes are not across the board. They're changes according to what price point you're in that particular market. So interest rates go up. Paying over appraisal, that's going to stop and it's going to slow down. What goes along with that? Days on market within that same price point, below that threshold that we're talking about, days on market will extend, right? And so we're talking about the days on market for a home, instead of going, oh my God, it's coming soon. Can we go see it? Can we put in an offer now? That's today's market. Versus it's active. It's been on the market for a week or two. Let's see if they lower it a little bit. Okay, let's wait another week or so. Maybe let's go see it. So days on market before it goes into contract will go to 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, then 4 weeks. It'll stabilize back to a 30-day before it goes into contract, and maybe a little bit longer. And that's when we start to see the signs of, hey, this is moving into a buyer's market. Because then what goes along with that? buyers get better terms on their negotiation. If I, as a seller, have been on the market now for 60 days and I'm like, hey, I've got a good offer on the table, they're pretty close to my asking price. Awesome. But they're asking me to pay $5,000 back in closing. Okay, well, you know what? If they're paying the number I want, yeah, you know what? Let's do it, right? That's different than today's market, because the market right now is, you better not ask for a single dollar in seller contributions, and you better not have any protections for appraisal or financing or this, that, and the other in order to get me to want to work with you. And so that's when you can see the signs of, okay, it's swinging to a buyer's market. Notice what I said though. That doesn't mean that the $350,000 home becomes $300,000 or $250,000. That is not what a buyer's market is. A buyer's market means properties that are for sale take longer to sell. Buyers have more options. Buyers get better terms. Okay? So that means we still have appreciation year over year. On average, for this state, it's been 3% year over year. So while you might get a better price, like for example, if I'm selling a home for $380,000, maybe I can get it for $370,000 or $375,000. Well, that's still increasing the values. So just understand what that means there. That doesn't mean that a bunch of foreclosures just randomly hit the market. We need to understand and pay very close attention to where the threshold is for your city. If I'm in Barrow County or Gwinnett, or I'm in Henry County, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I need to understand average price point used to be $300,000. Now it's $400,000. And now everyone above, this is what I want you to do. Pay attention to everyone above this particular price point. Maybe it'll end up being $450,000 or $500,000. Everyone above that price point might be in a buyer's market, and then everyone below that price point might end up still continuing to fly off the shelf. That's what's likely to happen next. And so you look at it as 3 tiers. I've explained it as 2, but let me tell you what the 3 are. Above a certain price point, we'll still be calling luxury. That used to be $350,000, $400,000, $500,000. Well, now it's definitely over $500,000 is luxury. So maybe it's $600,000 or $700,000. Then we get to the middle ground. The middle ground is your average buyer. Your average buyer used to be $150,000 to $300,000. Well, now your average buyer has moved into $250,000 to $400,000 might be the average buyer. And then everyone below $200,000 will be flying off the shelf, where that used to be homes that were under $100,000. And so when you start to understand how those numbers work, all that's happened is we've taken the previous market that we're used to from 5 years ago, and we've shifted it up in price point so that the average home buyer for a particular area is now in this price point, within this framework. And so for your area, it's going to be a lot higher than what you're used to. And then if you see a home that is in that under $300,000 price point, you might want to jump on it very, very quickly and be prepared to do that, and talk to your agent about how to make that happen and how to help you win that. So pay attention, talk to your real estate agent if you have questions about your value of your home, as well as what's likely to happen in your market and what we're seeing. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to really help you out there. Our number is 770-314-1285, or check out our website to see some patterns there by area. Our website is www.georgiaperimeterhomes.com. Thanks. Bye. All right, lastly,